Welcome to another episode of The Dissection. There's a lot of noise and confusion in the air, but I think I want to say from the get-go, we must not lose focus on the biggest story of the year. The biggest story, most explosive story, most impactful story of 2025. I remain convinced that the story that senior police officials have stepped forward and said definitively there's a big five cartel headquartered in Gauteng operating across South Africa and the SADC region, that there's a big five cartel which is involved in peak hoshkari behavior, that story is the most significant story of 2025 and possibly of the coming years. The top cops of South Africa have done something which is unprecedented. They've stepped forward and said the Minister of Police is in cahoots with the cartel, a cartel with tentacles in the drug trade, in kidnapping, in arms dealing, in carjacking, in money laundering, in tender fraud, in assassinations, in obstruction of justice. That's not trivial. That's not menial. That's something that people have seen impacting their lives in a variety of ways. This remains the biggest story of the year, in my view. And we've already seen the arrests of individuals such as Katiso Molefe, such as Vusimuzi Madlanga. I think that we can all see where this bus is going, and we must not lose focus. I think a lot is happening that has some kind of a distraction, diversion agenda from the public imagination. There's almost a hope that South Africans will move on from the story that has unfolded since the 6th of July when General Mkhwanazi made that bold move. This moment in South Africa reminds me of the Bone Thugs and Harmony song. You remember that Bone Thugs and Harmony song? I'm not going to sing it. Crossroads. Remember that song? South Africa is truly at a crossroads in many ways at this moment. I mean, think about today. We had two major announcements. Number one, Julius Malema has been found guilty for contravening the Firearms Control Act. This could potentially see him lose status as a member of parliament. It could potentially reshape South African electoral politics. That's number one. But number two, and more significantly still up to now, General Dumsani Khumalo could not continue with his explosive exposition of the evidence that everyone has been asking for. Journalists who've been screaming, where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? He started giving us that evidence in detail yesterday in 4K. Proof of payments, video recordings, everything was being supplied. He got sick overnight. The shocked emoji is not enough to describe this news. The explosive emoji is not enough to describe this news. There's also been a change in the evidence leaders at the commission for reasons which are still unclear up until now. These things happening at this time, considering even yesterday we got the news that Nathi Mthethwa, the former Minister of Police, who was directly mentioned by General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi for having interfered in the Richard Mdluli matter, he was found dead in Paris. We don't know if he's the fall guy, if he just fell, or if he was pushed. We have no idea at this particular moment. But the timing of this event is not insignificant. In fact, it is an alarming timing considering everything else that's happening. Incidentally, today, the Phala sofa robbers, the people who stole all of that money, the US dollars from the sofa, from the transaction that was not perfected, which has had multiple attempts at intellectual gymnastics to explain why the head of state had foreign currency in his sofa, foreign currency that came through the country that was not declared, that was purported to be for the purchase of buffalo. We are seeing those gentlemen in court today, and we don't know right now where the Joshua Doe banking sofa is. You got an uncle in the banking business, Joshua Farmer Doe. We don't know where that sofa is right now. It disappeared mysteriously, conveniently. Think about everything that's happening, but I don't think we should be distracted. I don't think we should be distracted in as much as all of these other things are happening, some of them interconnected, some of them seemingly to be part of manufacturing distraction, manufacturing consent. We should not be distracted. That's my submission going into this particular episode. Before I go on, give my thoughts about the General Khumalo development. We're doing our best to grow the channel, to grow the community, to make sure that the dissection is one of the leading shows on YouTube. And I have to ask you, if you're somebody who enjoys the content, have you subscribed yet? You need to make sure you're subscribed so that you don't miss any episode. Turn on the notifications. Sometimes, your YouTube wall won't show you everything that's come out on the day. But I'm trying to do episodes as regularly as possible so that we can provide this service and think through the unfolding events together. So much is going on now. You don't want to miss any episode. You don't want to miss any episode. You know what's going on. It's a drama. It's a movie. It's a series. Check if you've subscribed, especially if you're a regular viewer. Yesterday, some people told me in the comments they realized they've been watching all this time without subscribing. That's peak horse curry behavior. Peak horse curry behavior. So make sure that's not you. Subscribe today. It's free 99 till December. We recently crossed 100,000. We're crossing 110,000. Let's see if we can get to 120,000 subscribers by the end of October. Let's push. Because what we're doing here, I think it's so important. So going back to the announcement today that General Dumisani Khumalo is not able to continue for now because he is sick. That's shocking. Taken together with the moment in history where South Africa is right now, in terms of electoral politics, these developments are indeed a crossroads. Think about this. As things stand, we know that the ANC is in decline. They're moving closer to 30% in support. They tried to do that roll call of councillors, and the ANC president of South Africa, had to concede that the Democratic Alliance is doing much better than them at local government. The head of the ANC said that the Democratic Alliance, his rival party, is doing better than him at local government. He said that it was an explosive admission, one that I think will continue to echo, and one which will be looked back upon by the people who will eventually write a book about Ramaphosa. There's no books about him now in his administration. There's some, one by Anthony Butler, the other one by Ray Hartley. All of these books predate the 2018 moment. But since 2018, no books have come out. But at some point, a brave journalist will actually dare to write the book. And I think that day, when he said the Democratic Alliance is doing better at local government, that day will be considered as one of those moments which was foreshadowing what was to come. That's where things stand right now. Helen Zille is running for mayor of Johannesburg next year. The ANC stands to take massive losses in the local government elections. The biggest winners are likely to be the Democratic Alliance and also the MK party. MK is likely to gwaza left, right, and center the ANC, particularly in KwaZulu-Natal, particularly in Mpumalanga, and even in Gauteng. MK has not gone away. The Gwazists are gwazing at a high rate of gwaz velocity up until now. Nothing has changed about that. In as much as the media doesn't always talk about the outcomes and prospects and what they're seeing in the polling about the MK party remains a threat. One of the biggest mistakes remains being the pushing out of Jacob Zuma to the point at which he ended up forming the MK party. Perfect or imperfect, from an electoral strategy for the ANC, it was a mistake to try to push out Jacob Zuma totally from the ANC. And it may very well be that he will have the last laugh. MK has not gone away. That's the environment that we're in. And then after the local government elections, which are likely to be a drubbing, the ANC will be going to a leadership race in 2027. Paul Mashatile seems to be a front runner. Then you've got Fikile Mbalula. Then you've got the question mark of Patrice Motsepe, who has said he's not interested, but we still can't rule it out. That's the context where all of this is happening. Right? President Ramaphosa will no longer be the face of the party, the leader of the party. The question is, who will be that person? All of these dynamics show how volatile the situation is and how the leadership and trajectory of South Africa is up in the air. It's a crossroads. See you at the crossroads. You won't be lonely. When you look about the economic data, think about the economic data. This year, the economic data has been lethargic, and that's putting it positively. Growth is close to zero for 2025. Unemployment has gone up. Youth unemployment is over 70% on the expanded definition, which looks at discouraged job seekers as well. The cost of living is ridiculous. A packet of noodles used to cost 20 rands, 19 rands for that 5-pack. Now it's 40 rands. Think about that. The price of electricity has gone up exponentially. People are paying through the nose for electricity. It's getting to the point where electricity is a luxury. There's a water disruption issue right now, which is becoming prevalent. So the high level assessment of the crossroads, then you put the Mkhwanazi moment, Fiasco Sunday, into all of that. That was explosive and something that has disrupted in ways that we may not fully appreciate the political dynamics of South Africa. The Madlanga Commission has added fuel to the fire. I said whatever General Mkhwanazi and his colleagues got, they were going to use. If you gave them a podcast, they were going to use it. If you gave them a commission, they were going to use it. If you gave them ad hoc committee, they were going to use it. And they're not done. They're just warming up. This is not even done. We're not even where we need to be in terms of understanding the big five, the full extent of the infiltration into police, into the political circles. We don't have the full picture. And this is what has caused all of this that is happening now. The zugzwang that we're seeing, the higi haga, the krinkum krankum. We are seeing it because of what has happened as a result of the 6th of July. Think about this. Shadrack Sibiya is on suspension. Senzo Mchunu is on suspension, special leave, whatever you want to call it, of another kind. Remix it, call it what you may. A rose is not a rose. A suspension is not a suspension. A leave is not a leave. But what remains is that he is not currently working as Minister of Police. Somebody else is. Think about that. There are two known notorious criminals in prison. There's another notorious fellow, Hangwani Morgan Maumela, linked to Vusimuzi Matlala, linked to the looting of Tembisa Hospital. We know that Papita Deokaran was killed as a result of these interconnections. We don't know if Hangwani Morgan Maumela is part of the Big Five, but he's somebody that we know is linked to Benjani Chauke, with somebody we know is a relative of Cyril Ramaphosa. Cyril Ramaphosa, of course, has denied knowing him. But we know these things to be true. We know these things to be factual. People can type, where is the evidence? Where is the evidence? Where is the evidence? The evidence has been provided, is being provided. This is disruptive. A minister, former minister of police, an ambassador, jumps, falls, whatever happened. Nobody just gives up on being an ambassador. It's one of the best jobs in the world. In France, one of the most beautiful places in the world. You're in Paris. You get to eat croissants and see all of the people and mingle in this great culture with access to large amounts of money in a salary. Being an ambassador is one of the best jobs. Nobody just jumps when they're an ambassador to France. It's not done. It's a good quality of life. The fact that it has happened in this window period, we were supposed to be on day 10 today of the Madlanga Commission. 10 days ago, apparently Natim Teta booked this hotel where he forced open the windows, or the windows were forced open. Who knows? These things are happening. And then today, we hear that Khumalo can't continue because he's sick. That's shocking. In the context of everything that's happening, that is shocking information, and we can't sugarcoat it. So this is some of what the spokesperson for the commission had to say.
A few minutes after 9, and we will make an announcement during the course of the day as to the way forward. But for today, we are adjourned.
So do we know how long he will not be available to testify for the...
No, we don't know that.
So could this potentially see proceedings being suspended for the week?
We will make an announcement as soon as we know, but for today we are adjourned.
I mean, you are fully aware, Jeremy, of how sometimes there's a lot of conspiracy theories that go around. Just a message to the public about, it's got nothing to do with whatever might have been happening around him at the commission, and that the venue and everything else is secure.
Yes, absolutely. So I think it's very important for us to say that the hearing was scheduled to start at 9:30. There is nothing out of the ordinary, except that General Khumalo is not feeling well. And of course, Justice Madlanga took the decision to adjourn for the day instead.
Okay. Jeremy, take us through the in-camera process. Has Mr. Khumalo applied for that process?
Well, we're not going to talk about that at the moment. For now, we are in this phase of the hearings, in phase one, where Lieutenant General Nkwanazi's testimony under oath is being substantiated by a number of witnesses, as you will have seen over the last, today is day 10 of the public hearings. And if there is a need for the commission to go into camera at any point, we will make that announcement as is necessary.
See you at the crossroads, you won't be lonely. See you at the crossroads. This is strange. This is very bizarre. I think we cannot rule out all manner of mshigashiga. Really, hoshkari behavior here could be happening. But we can't know for certain now. Because as things have been unfolding, peak hoshkari behavior has been revealed by General Khumalo. There are people who have a lot of explaining to do. And we were getting to the juicier parts of the matter. And then we get this announcement that Khumalo will not be available for an indeterminate period. We don't know. Could be this week, could come back next week. Hopefully he comes back sooner than later. Hopefully. There was a statement from the National Police Commissioner today which said the following. The National Commissioner of the South African Police Service, General Fani Masemola, wishes to inform the public that the Divisional Commissioner for Crime Intelligence, Lieutenant General Dumisani Khumalo, is receiving the best medical care after feeling unwell this morning. The General felt unwell after arriving at the Bridget Mabandla Justice College, where he was due to continue with his testimony. General Masemola is in contact with the senior officer and confirms that he is in good spirits and taking health advice from his physician. The General's health is receiving priority, and the Madlanga Commission will be kept abreast of all developments pertaining to his condition, as well as when he'll be available to continue with his testimony. Timing. Something that we have to be cognizant of. Always important. The statement's over, by the way. I'm not just commenting. Timing is important to evaluate in the world of politics. And there are no coincidences in the world of politics. The timing of this, it's very concerning for me, considering where we are in the testimony and where we are in the events that are unfolding nationally. General looked healthy yesterday. Seemed willing to keep going. And I'm sure in the back of everyone's mind, we've all been thinking about the safety and health of all these brave men and women who've stepped forward to challenge the political interference in policing that they're alleging, with the intention to protect the police from these hoshkari fathers. We've all been thinking, are these guys going to be safe? We've already heard that there are so many risk assessments that had to be done to make sure that the GCI ops are investigating in a manner where they won't be killed. And I can tell you now, we've all been concerned about the death of African politicians. We always wonder when they fall sick if there was poisoning involved. It's a joke at some point where people talk about, no, Thabo Mbeki didn't drink water over here and General Mkhwanazi didn't drink water over there. But it's also a recognized and understood thing that in African politics, they don't have to take you out with the gun. There are many ways that you can be taken out. So for him to be sick at this moment, when these top cops have taken the decisions that they have to expose this Big Five cartel, to what extent will the Big Five cartel try to stop this commission from discovering their full identity, full extent of what they've been doing? To what extent will the Big Five cartel try to prevent themselves from ending up in prison? We can't forget or ignore these things. We've heard some of the whispers. about how certain politicians were killed by poisoning. We can't ignore that. Not saying that this is what has happened. I'm saying that we have to consider all options, considering all of the other events that are unfolding, and also considering what we know about the incredible things that can happen. I mean, think about the Thabo Bester case up to now. That if you had written that as a fictional script, nobody would have believed you. But it happened in real life. And now we are seeing a general who's sick. I am genuinely concerned about his health. And I want to ask all of us to say a prayer for the general. May no weapon formed against him, against those who want to break the back of crime and infiltration by criminals in South African politics and policing prosper. May no weapon that is formed against those who want to break the back of crime and infiltration in South Africa prosper. May no weapon prosper against these men. That's my prayer. I'm now of the view that this Madlanga Commission is getting much closer to the most powerful people in this Big Five cartel. These events are not unconnected, in my opinion. They can't be unconnected. But we have to consider the other side. There's a possibility that this is just a tactical move, and we must consider that. There may be a need right now to allow for some events to unfold, for the burial of Nathi Mthethwa to happen, for there to be a reevaluation of the areas of focus. If these testimonies going forward, we're going to touch Nathi Mthethwa maybe more than they can now. There may be an appreciation that there's also a lot of noise in the media and attempts to dilute public attention from the revelations of this commission. We've been seeing it. Even this Malema judgment coming through the way it did in this week, in the manner that it was delivered, where the judge is taking her time to read through everything, it felt like there are attempts to create a sideshow. Even the SIU announcement on Monday. What a week. We're on Wednesday right now. So there may have been an appreciation that, look, guys, there's an attempt to drum up as much noise and diversion and distraction as possible. Maybe let's take a strategic, time out. Maybe that's what's happening. And if it is a tactical move, then we have to keep an eye on how the events that unfold in the coming days play out. Maybe there'll be a major arrest. At this point, there's no way of knowing for certain what's happening. The strange things surrounding this commission, even the change in the leadership of the evidence leaders, hasn't been fully explained. Talking about the Julius Malema judgment, it is significant. It could reshape South African politics in a major way, but it could also backfire in a major way for those who are celebrating it. Sometimes when politicians get arrested, incarcerated, that can actually lead to more support for them, not a reduction of support for them and their parties. I think Kwame Nkrumah, when he won the first election that he won, actually was in prison. His party won, and they won such a majority, they actually took him out. That's when he became the first leader of free Ghana, if I'm not mistaken. That's what happened. I want to do a proper dissection of this judgment, all of the issues, all of the things that came up. But I want to just tell you briefly that my initial impression is that this case will not hold up in a higher court. They've already said that they intend to appeal, and we'll see what happens in the coming days. But in as much as I want to do that, and I will do that dissection, I will get you that judgment, I will give you my full impressions. And of course, this is serious. Malema could lose his role as a member of parliament. That can have an impact on the party. Already we know he was gearing up to grill Nathi Mthethwa, even, who was on the potential witness list, to grill Gayton McKenzie. And that will still likely happen, excluding the Nathi Mthethwa, of course. But obviously the dynamics are shifting in ways that are quite interesting. But at the same time, I don't want to lose focus myself and get strategically trapped into talking about the sideshow event when the main event is not concluded. I actually am beginning to think that the best use of time right now is to go back carefully over the evidence that has been presented over the last 9 days. Make sure I have a thorough understanding of everything that has been presented thus far. There's been so much information that has been presented that we may actually need to take this time to carefully go over it, revise it, and reach our understanding There's more to come. And when that more comes, we need to be able to see where things have been placed, where things are going, and not necessarily allow ourselves to be misguided. Because as you can see, the first attempt was, well, these people are just doing this because their contracts are expiring. Then it was, no, this is factional in the police. Then it was also, now, where's the evidence? The attempts to derail, to confuse, to diffuse the testimony are continuing. I saw somebody saying that Madlanga was being scammed by Brown Mkhotsi and the minister didn't know necessarily. And they're now making it seem as if because later there was a confrontation and a difference of opinion on the tender that Madlanga received, therefore Mkhunu was not the bad guy or was not involved or implicated in these things. However, we know that the task team was disbanded by Mkhunu. We know that the text messages between the 18th to the 31st show us a motive for the disbanding of that task team. We know that the events of 6 December, 18 and 19 December, and 24 December all show us that there was this character, Vusimuzi Madlanga, under pressure, talking to Brown Mkhotsi about the things that were happening, trying to set up members of the GCI Ops for assault, and at the same time making payments for January 8 associated events. And then at some point in between there, a payment gets made, and then his issues are told that they're going away. So we're already seeing people trying to remix what we saw with our own eyes to try to create a way out for Minister Mkhunu. I don't think it's going to work. I don't think it's persuasive. We saw what we saw. We understand what we understand. And we listened to Bob Marley, who said, don't let them fool you. Don't let them school you. You have a mind of your own. So I think we have to stay sharp, stay focused, and understand there's more to come. People like Shadrach Sibia are being exposed. People like Julius Mkhwanazi about to be exposed fully and completely. We're already seeing Brown Mkhotsi saying, I'm setting up a meeting with Sibia, giving details about where the dockets are going, in line with the testimony of General Mkhwanazi. I think we mustn't lose focus. We mustn't be distracted easily. And in as much as these other stories matter, let us have context about the crossroads moment and the explosiveness. This is my view. I don't know what you think, but let me meet you in the comments so you can tell me how you're reading everything that's happening. I'll meet you there. See you in the comments. You won't be lonely. See you in the comments. You won't be lonely. And by the way, have you watched the episode that I did with Sizwe Mpofu Walsh? I know I cut him off a little bit. I was getting excited. The news was too explosive. I'm going to do better, guys. But if you haven't watched that episode, please watch that episode. I'm going to do better at my holding myself within myself so that the man from Oxford can give his thoughts uninterrupted. I need to get 5% of Dr. Mpofu Walsh in me. Keep my mouth shut. Let him finish. I know, but I still think the episode is a great episode worth watching. Go watch it. Go watch it if you haven't yet. Till the next one. Let me meet you in the comments.